let's discuss a very important event that happened in the Prophet's life in Mecca. It's something that has so many details, so many hadiths, verses in the Quran speak about this. And it was truly a turning point in the Prophet's life. And that is Al-Isra' wal-Mi'raj. The ascension of the Prophet ﷺ to the heavens, his journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. First of all, when did this happen? The Mi'raj, what was the date of it? How many years after the Prophet received revelation did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take him on that journey? We have so many views here, so many conflicting reports. Some scholars believe it was about 3 to 5 years after Ba'tha, after he started receiving revelation. Some say 7 years, many say 10 years, some say 12, 13 years. So just months before he migrated to the city of Medina, that's when the Mi'raj happened. So we've got a lot of conflicting reports as to when that happened. Now, some of our scholars have done, their historical analysis of this event, and they say that we feel confident that it actually happened early on. So probably somewhere between 3 to 5 years, most likely 4 to 5 years after the Ba'tha, after receiving revelation, is when this event happened. Now, why do they say that? What are some clues that we can cite to establish that it happened early on, not later in the Prophet's, stay in Mecca? First proof, Ibn Abbas, who was the cousin of the Prophet, he was very close to the Prophet. In his hadith, he says this happened 2 years after the Ba'tha. So we tend to trust Ibn Abbas more than some of these historians who came later, right? Like Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, Tabari, and these others who came later. They're saying, for example, year 10, year 12, year 13. Well, Ibn Abbas says 2 years. And by the way, it's very possible that Ibn Abbas, when he says 2 years, he means 5 years. Why? Remember, those first 3 years, they were private, right? So a lot of the times when some of these companions would give us a date about the Prophet's mission of spreading Islam, they would actually consider the starting point when the Prophet went public with it. So oftentimes they would not count those 3 years. So when Ibn Abbas says 2 years after the Ba'tha, or after he started preaching Islam, it's very likely that he means 4 or 5 years. So that's one argument that we have, a hadith from Ibn Abbas in which he says 2 years. So it was early on. The point we're trying to establish is that this happened early on in his mission, not later in Mecca. Yes.
So if Dawat al-Ashira happened in about 3 after year 3, how long after that was the public spreading?
Days after that. Yes, after the Prophet invited his family, they took a stance like Abu Lahab. Then Allah reveals the verse which says, فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرْ, now go public with it. So it came very shortly after that.
So that was the incident where the Prophet talks to the people of Quraysh, if I tell you that there is an army behind this mountain.
Exactly. That's when he went public, not the first day when he received revelation. He did not say that. 3 years later, the incident happened where he gathered them and he told them, if I were to tell you there's a caravan behind the mountain, would you believe me? When they said yes, then he went public with it and he invited them to the religion of Islam. Yes.
So I think Salman came around in Medina, but companions like Abu Dhar and
yes, we examined that previously. Sure. Abu Dhar was the 4th or 5th companion to join.
Was that after?
So at this time, Abu Dhar had joined the Prophet.
Okay, so was that in the first 3 years? Right?
In the first 3 years, yes. In the first 3 years, we had about 40 people who had joined the religion of Islam in those 40 years. So let's not call it like a secret movement. It was low profile. So some of the companions would hear about the Prophet. Remember, we discussed how Imam Ali alayhi salam privately took Abu Dhar to the Prophet. And he heard the message of Islam and he became Muslim. So yes, Abu Dhar became Muslim in those 3 years. Yes. So that's the first argument that we have, that Ibn Abbas, he says it was 2 years after. Number two, we have hadiths from Imam Ali alayhi salam that say it was 3 years after the Ba'thah of the Prophet, which is also an indication that it happened early on. Number three, and this one's very important, we have hadiths from not just Shia sources, from Sunni sources. For example, At-Tabarani in his book, he mentions this hadith in his Al-Mu'jam Al-Kabir. Haythami, a Sunni scholar, in the book Majma' Al-Zawaid, he mentions this, and a number of other sources. We also have Shia sources that mention this. And the hadith has many sources. You know, Ibn Abbas, Sa'd ibn Malik, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Imam al-Sadiq, Aisha herself narrates this hadith. So we have a number of sources for this hadith. What's Aisha's version of the hadith? According to these hadiths, Aisha would see the Prophet ﷺ embracing Fatima and kissing her frequently. Apparently that disturbed her. So once she objected to the Prophet, she told him, "O Messenger of God, what's the matter here? You keep embracing her, smelling her neck, kissing her. Why do you do that?" What did he respond? The Prophet ﷺ tells Aisha, according to the Sunni sources, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took me to the journey of the Mi'raj, Jibra'il, he gives the details of how Jibra'il would take him to one heaven after the other until he reaches the seventh heaven, the highest heaven. Now one version says the Prophet he sees a tree. He sees a tree in paradise, a very blessed tree. The Prophet describes how beautiful it is, how fragrant it was. And he asks Jibra'il, "What is this tree?" Jibra'il tells him the specifics and the characteristics of this tree. Then Jibra'il tells him, "O Prophet, Allah wants you to eat from this tree." So one hadith that the Sunnis have narrated, it says it was dates. One hadith that we have says it was an apple. In any case, it was some sort of fruit, heavenly fruit. He tells him, "Allah wants you to eat from this fruit." The Prophet ﷺ says, "I ate from that heavenly fruit. Then when I came down to earth, after this journey, my wife Khadija became pregnant with Fatima. So the origin of my daughter Fatima is from paradise. Because when I ate from that tree, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed Fatima in me. And then when I went down to earth, Fatima alayhi salam was conceived. So her origin is heavenly." Then the Prophet tells Aisha, "So whenever I miss smelling paradise, I smell my daughter Fatima. She reminds me of the smell of paradise. Because she is Hawra Insiyya. Hawra is a heavenly creature, and that's why we say Hur al-Ain. Hur al-Ain is the plural of Hawra. Hawra is singular for one person. So Hawra means heavenly, or having heavenly origins, but she is a human with heavenly origins. That's why we say Hawra Insiyya. Insiyya means human, Hawra means heavenly. So we have this hadith that actually tells us Fatima alayhi salam was born after the ascension to the Mi'raj. When was Fatima born? In the 5th year after the Ba'thah. So the Mi'raj must have happened before the 5th year. Otherwise, if you say the Mi'raj happened year 12, 13, Fatima was born at that time. She was 7, 8 years old. And we have authentic hadiths that tell us Fatima was born after the incident of Mi'raj. So this is one argument that scholars have used, to say that the Mi'raj actually happened early on. By the way, this hadith also proves what? That lady Fatima alayhi salam, when she was martyred, how old was she? 18 or 28? The popular Shia opinion says what? 18. The Sunnis say what? 28. Well, if she was born after Mi'raj, she must be what at that time? She must have been 18. Because they claim she was born before Ba'thah. Before the Prophet received revelation, 5 years before that, when the Prophet was 35 years old, Fatima was born. We say she was born when he was 45 years old, 5 years after Ba'tha. And one proof is the hadith of Mi'raj, that she was born after the incident of Mi'raj. The incident of Mi'raj came after the Prophet's prophethood, not before. Now, some scholars have said there was a political motive to make Fatima al-Zahra 10 years older. Why? Because when you say she was born before the Ba'tha, then you deny her heavenly origin. Then the hadith of Mi'raj would not be applicable to her, right? You could say, this is all false because she was born before Ba'tha, so even if we have a good chain, solid chain, just disregard all those hadiths. So some of our scholars, upon their analysis and examination, they've observed that some other schools of thought, they deliberately insisted on Fatima a.s. being 10 years older to deny her this virtue, that her origin is heavenly.
So make Fatima older but Aisha younger.
Yes, and that's exactly what they did. They made Fatima al-Zahra a.s. older and Aisha many, many years younger. So, what are some other quick proofs that we can cite? Surah Al-Isra talks about this journey from Masjid al-Haram to Jerusalem, and then Surah Al-Najm also talks about the ascension. Surah Al-Isra, which talks about this, when was it revealed? It was revealed early after the Ba'tha, not 12 to 13 years later. So we can say that when Allah mentions this journey in Surah Al-Isra, and Surah Al-Isra was revealed early on, that means when did the journey happen? Early on, right? That's one proof. Number two, Surah Al-Najm. Surah Al-Najm was also one of those surahs which talks about the Mi'raj, and it was revealed early on. You had, probably it was the 23rd or 22nd surah that was revealed in Mecca. Some 60 chapters were revealed after Surah Al-Najm in Mecca. So this tells us that Surah Al-Najm was actually revealed early on, not towards the end of the Prophet's stay in Mecca. So these are just some clues, that indicate that. Another indication is that in Hadith al-Mi'raj, one hadith says, when the Prophet came back to earth, Jibreel told him, Ya Rasulullah, give my salam and the salam of Allah to your wife Khadija. But if you say that this happened the year 1213, Khadija had passed away during the year 1213 because she passed away in the 9th or 10th year after the Ba'tha. So this tells us that she was still alive. So this happened probably a little bit early on. We also have hadiths, Abu Talib, when he realized the Prophet was missing that night, he was not to be found because he was in the heavens. He got worried. He dispatched his family members, let's search for him. Which tells us Abu Talib was also alive. Now Abu Talib during the 12th or 13th year of the Ba'tha, he had passed away. So these are all indications that this probably, we don't know the exact date, but it probably happened early on. Now some scholars have given the possibility that the ascension to the heavens happened a number of times. Some of it early on, some of it later on. It's a possibility. We don't have solid proof that proves that. It's just a possibility, but we can't really verify it happened a few times. We definitely know it happened once, but we're not sure if it happened more than that.